They move in silence, slipping through the waves like ghosts. No official records, no proper documentation, and no allegiance to any flag for long. The Shadow Fleet, or Dark Fleet, a network of unregistered or loosely registered tankers, has become a crucial tool for sanctioned nations to keep their economies afloat.
At the beginning of the cluster, all around you can see oil tankers out of range for law enforcement.
For Russia and Iran, these vessels are lifelines, defying global restrictions with every drop of oil they transport. But beneath the surface of their operations lies a world of deception, danger, and international intrigue. When Western nations imposed severe restrictions on Russia following its 2022 invasion of Ukraine, the country's vast oil industry faced a crisis. Traditional shipping routes, once open and unrestricted, now fell under intense scrutiny. Every sanctioned tanker was tracked, monitored, and blocked from insurance services. But oil had to keep flowing.
Here's how that approach works. 1. The sanctions prevent direct sales of refined oil to the countries that have imposed the ban. And 2, there's a global cap on how much crude can be sold for. The EU and the UK were expected to monitor the whole strategy through their insurance companies, which cover most of the legitimate shipping industry. Sounds great, right? Well, not so much, because Russia is now selling its crude to countries like India and China. And to get around the whole inconvenience of insurance, the ships they're using are increasingly off the grid.
Russia responded with a fleet of over 600 shadow vessels, ships with murky ownership histories, frequent flag changes, and little to no oversight. These tankers, many of them old and poorly maintained, became the backbone of an underground supply chain, ensuring Russian crude reached willing buyers. Iran had already mastered this game. With around 400 ships in its dark fleet, Tehran had been evading sanctions for years, using deceptive maneuvers to get its oil to China and beyond. Together, these nations now operate a hidden maritime empire. How do these ships stay invisible in an era of satellite tracking and global enforcement? They rely on a playbook built on misdirection and manipulation. One day, a tanker flies the flag of Panama. The next, it's registered under Liberia. Frequent flag changes make it difficult to trace ownership and jurisdiction, allowing these vessels to evade scrutiny.
I was able to review that with satellite imagery and saw that there was no vessel at the port. Instead, it was a spoof, where in fact we saw the vessel in Kozmino in Russia.
So they're able to lie about their location?
Yes, in real time.
And so that allows them to move wherever they want to move undetected.
Absolutely.
And that happened how quickly after the sanctions took place?
Immediately.
Every legitimate ship broadcasts its location using the automatic identification system. Shadow Fleet vessels simply turn it off, disappearing from radar for days or weeks at a time. Instead of docking at sanctioned ports, these vessels meet in open waters, transferring oil between ships to mix cargo and obscure its origins. False papers change everything. A Russian oil shipment can be magically rebranded as crude from Malaysia or Oman, making detection almost impossible. These methods not only allow sanctioned nations to keep trading, but also create a thriving black market where middlemen, rogue traders, and opportunistic ship owners profit from deception.
When you're sitting at your dashboard and you're watching all of this, what makes you know that's part of the dark fleet?
Yeah, the ownership will change. The vessel age is beyond 15 years. That's a red flag. And so these vessels were supposed to be scrapped, and then somebody makes a bid in the last minute with $1 million and gets to extend the life of this tanker.
But the Shadow Fleet isn't just about geopolitics. It's reshaping the maritime economy. The demand for old, cheap tankers has skyrocketed. Before the Ukraine war, a 15-year-old crude tanker sold for around $32.5 million. Now that same ship can fetch $54 million. These vessels, often without proper maintenance or insurance, are accidents waiting to happen, and the disasters are already unfolding. In May 2023, the tanker Pablo exploded off the coast of Indonesia, killing crew members and spilling oil into the ocean. With no proper oversight, these incidents are becoming more frequent, putting fragile marine ecosystems at risk. Governments and regulatory bodies are aware of the threat. the United Nations International Maritime Organization has condemned the use of shadow fleets, warning of their environmental and security risks. Arsenio Dominguez, the IMO's Secretary General, has called for stricter measures to curb these operations, but enforcement remains a major challenge. Sanctioned nations register their ships under flags of convenience, countries with weak maritime laws that allow them to operate freely. Port inspections are inconsistent, and the financial incentives to keep these vessels running outweigh the risks of getting caught. Even when ships are seized, new ones quickly take their place, ensuring the cycle continues. Beyond economic and environmental concerns, the shadow fleet poses a security risk. In December 2024, Finnish authorities detained the tanker Eagle S, linking it to the sabotage of the S-Link 2 subsea electricity cable in the Baltic Sea. While the investigation is ongoing, the case highlights how these unregulated vessels could be exploited for purposes beyond oil smuggling. The shadow fleet is no longer just a loophole. It's a system, an industry, and a weapon in the hands of sanctioned regimes. Without a unified global response, it will continue to grow, undermining sanctions, threatening the environment, and destabilizing maritime trade. For now, these ghost ships remain untouchable, sailing through the cracks of international law, carrying oil, secrets, and a quiet defiance of the rules meant to control them. These ships are not new to the game. Iran, North Korea, and Venezuela have long relied on them to bypass sanctions. But Russia's need for them has sent demand soaring. Within a year of the invasion, the shadow fleet had grown to 600 tankers. By late 2023, estimates put the number at 1,400. Nobody knows the exact figure, but one thing is clear. This fleet isn't just expanding, it's aging. And old ships break down. The danger isn't hypothetical. Accidents involving dark fleet vessels are already happening. From Gibraltar to China, Cuba to Indonesia, these ships are running aground, leaking oil, and colliding with other vessels. Without proper insurance, who pays for the damage? Countries where accidents occur are left to deal with the mess, often without compensation. The lack of oversight makes these ships a ticking time bomb. Most don't carry standard Western insurance. Instead, they rely on obscure policies from Russian and Iranian backers, which offer little real protection. 2/3 of tankers carrying Russian oil are now insured by entities labeled simply as unknown. Their owners, hidden behind layers of shell companies in non-Western countries. Many don't even have a physical office. Adding to the problem, the ships themselves are on borrowed time. Before the Ukraine invasion, only 3% of the global tanker fleet was over 20 years old. Now, experts predict that number will hit 11% by 2025. These aging vessels, neglected and poorly maintained, are disasters waiting to happen.
We don't fully know why they're doing it, but what it does mean is that there's a degree of separation. A trader may not be completely comfortable with taking delivery of oil that has originated in Russia and may just want to hide that so that they can kind of just get it imported without too many questions being asked.
Tanker traffic from Russia's Baltic ports tells the story. Since 2022, crude oil shipments have surged. In early 2022, the average monthly journey stood at 662. By late 2023, that number had jumped to 955. These ships aren't just increasing in number, they're getting bigger and older. The average age of Russian crude oil tankers has risen from 8.3 years in 2020 to 14.6 years in 2023. Some, especially those departing from Kaliningrad, are nearly 30 years old. Where are they going? That's another mystery. Before the war, most Russian oil exports went to Europe. Now they're rerouted to Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. The problem isn't just about sanctions evasion, it's about maritime safety. These outdated vessels, operated by anonymous owners, are navigating crowded waters with minimal oversight. The risk of collisions, oil spills, and environmental disasters grows by the day. A storm brewed over the Bay of Gibraltar on February 20th, 2023. But it wasn't just the weather causing trouble. 2 tankers, operating in the shadows of global shipping, found themselves in distress. They had changed names and flags recently, one to Palau, the other to Gabon. No proper insurance, no clear accountability. When they dragged anchor, it was up to local tugs and a salvage ship to intervene. But who would pay for the rescue? Taxpayers, again. This was not an isolated event. A few months earlier, the Cuban-flagged tanker Pidion, carrying Venezuelan oil under sanctions, collided with another vessel off Cuba's coast. Another near disaster, another sign of an industry operating in the dark. Then came March 2022. The Panama-flagged tanker Arzoyi ran aground near Qingdao, China. Its cargo? A mystery. Its origins? Dubious. By May 2023, the flames engulfing the Gabon-flagged tanker Pablo off Malaysia made international headlines. The Malaysian Coast Guard moved fast, saving most of the crew, but 3 were lost and the burnt-out hulk of the Pablo became a new problem. Who would deal with the wreck? No owner stepped forward. October 2023, another ticking time bomb. Turba, a 26-year-old vessel flying the Cameroon flag, drifted without power for 2 days in the Indian Ocean. By December, Indonesian teams rushed to save another Cameroon-flagged tanker, this time carrying Venezuelan oil. The pattern was undeniable. These weren't simple accidents. They were the consequence of an industry pushing aging, uninsured vessels into service to dodge sanctions and regulations. Salvage operations should be straightforward. Under Lloyd's Open Forum, a salvage company rescues a vessel and the owner pays a reward. Simple. But there's a catch. You need to find the owner. With shadow fleet tankers, owners vanish when things go wrong. When the Pablo burned, Malaysian taxpayers had to cover the response. The wreck still sits there today, a monument to the risks of these ghost ships. And what about the oil? The International Oil Pollution Compensation Funds provide relief for spills, but does that apply to shadow tankers? No one is sure. Coastal nations are left with the mess, both literal and financial. Could these vessels be blocked? On paper, maybe. In reality, not so easy. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea gives all vessels the right to innocent passage through territorial waters. As long as they aren't actively causing harm, they can pass.
So I'm afraid to say the sanctions that have been created are largely ineffective as a consequence of that. Or put it like this, people are, as I said earlier, dodging those sanctions. They're finding a way around them.
Exclusive economic zones are another issue. Countries control resources there, but not navigation. A retired Danish Navy admiral put it bluntly, the whole construct of merchant shipping rests on a very significant rights of free navigation. Unless a ship enters a port or breaches clear regulations, stopping it is almost impossible. Even detaining a shadow vessel isn't simple. If a country seizes one, then what? That ship becomes their problem. No one wants to be stuck with an abandoned vessel, a missing crew, and a cleanup bill no one will pay. Authorities hope these ships will just keep moving, hoping someone else will deal with them. There is a legal path to intervention. The International Convention on the High Seas allows countries to act if a ship poses an environmental threat. If an oil spill seems imminent, action can be taken. But stopping a vessel before disaster strikes? That's a legal minefield. More than 4 incidents have been linked to the shadow fleet so far. Fires, engine failures, collisions, spills. These ships are falling apart at sea. When disaster hits, it's not the shadow fleet paying the price. It's governments, insurers, and the environment. And the numbers are only going up. More ghost ships, more disasters waiting to happen. The question is not if another catastrophe will occur. The question is when and who will pay for it. Now see this. This is Iran's shadow fleet, an elusive network of vessels, shippers, and brokers keeping Iranian oil on the market despite international sanctions. But the game just got harder. Among the sanctioned are oil brokers operating from the United Arab Emirates and Hong Kong. Tanker operators and managers from India and China are also on the list. At the center of it all, Hamid Bovard, Iran's Deputy Minister of Petroleum and head of the National Iranian Oil Company, stands accused of facilitating the country's oil trade. Abbas Asadrous, head of the Iranian Oil Terminals Company, finds himself in the same storm, alongside others managing the terminals where Iranian oil flows through. These aren't just names on a list. These are the architects of Iran's ability to keep its oil moving, despite sanctions that should have crippled its exports. The vessels involved, some flagged under Barbados, Panama, and the Cook Islands, have been identified as blocked property. Tens of millions of barrels worth hundreds of millions of dollars have moved through these ships. Now their operations are under direct threat. For years, Iran has relied on this shadowy network to bypass restrictions. Ships disappear from tracking systems. Ownership records are blurred. Money is laundered through shell companies. Each move is designed to evade scrutiny, but the U.S. has been watching. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent made it clear. This isn't just about punishing Iran, it's about cutting off every possible route Iran has to move its oil. The crackdown follows multiple executive orders aimed at tightening the noose around Iran's oil sector. A presidential memorandum set the tone. Maximum pressure. The goal is simple: hit Iran where it hurts most, its revenue stream. Iran's oil sector isn't just about business. It's a key funding source for activities the U.S. and its allies consider destabilizing. Every barrel sold fuels operations that Washington seeks to disrupt. With these sanctions, the U.S. is sending a message not only to Iran, but also to those enabling its trade. The real question: will this move be enough? Iran has adapted before. When previous sanctions hit, the shadow fleet grew more elusive. New routes, new brokers, new cover stories. The oil kept flowing, but with each crackdown, the risks increase. More players will think twice before getting involved. More vessels will struggle to find safe ports, and the cost of doing business in Iranian oil will climb higher. For now, the waters just got a lot more dangerous. The dark fleet isn't just a loophole, it's an entire system operating in plain sight. These ships keep sanctioned nations afloat, but at what cost? Environmental disasters, security risks, and a blatant disregard for international law. And as long as there's demand, the fleet will keep growing. But here's the real question: what happens when these aging tankers start failing at an even larger scale? Who takes responsibility when a major spill devastates a coastline? Who holds these invisible ship owners accountable? Right now, no one. The shadow fleet is a ticking time bomb, and the world is watching. But will anyone act before disaster strikes? If you found this deep dive interesting, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more investigations like this, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next breakdown. And let us know in the comments, do you think governments will ever be able to shut down the dark fleet for good? Or is this just the new normal in global trade? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.